Hey, I'm Matt Manny. Thanks so much for joining me for today's devotional thought. Work your heart. In the previous devotional, we talked about watering your heart, and today we're going to talk about how to work the soil of your heart. We're going to make the connection with the second soil, the soil that has rocks kind of worked into the ground a little bit there. And so we're going to talk about how to work our heart and how to push through when the pressures come. Specifically with this second soil, one of the biggest challenges sometimes is that of keeping our commitments and pushing through the hard times and holding to our vows, holding to our commitments when things kind of get tough a little bit. Several years ago, the kids and I, we were working on a project, and Amanda was there helping. We were getting shovels out, and we were getting piles of dirt and stone and sand delivered to the house because we were planning on leveling out the backyard. It took a lot of work. We had so many wheelbarrows full of rocks and sand that we had to take from the front lawn to the back of the house to go ahead and level out our area, because it wasn't just about doing work for work's sake. We were leveling out the backyard so we could put in one of those little 4-foot above ground pools for the kids to go ahead and play in, with a little tiny filter system to go ahead and make the summer a nice, cool backyard fun time for our family. And so a dump truck came early in the morning. We set out some tarps out there in the front yard, and it backed up and dumped all this rock, the stone, and dumped all the sand then. And so we had to go back and level out the ground, and it just was laborious work. It takes hard work to get things done. It takes a lot of sweat and tears sometimes, maybe a little bit of blood to get things done. But at the end of the day, we looked at our handiwork, we saw everything was leveled out, and then we were able to go ahead and set up the pool, and the kids had a great time and really enjoyed the payoff. But sometimes for us, when it comes to our spiritual life, it takes a lot of work that we're sometimes fearful of because, well, it takes work to go ahead and have a tender heart. It takes work to deal with those issues and the challenges of things that hold us back from growing our faith. And so when it comes to our lives, when it comes to dealing with those issues, we need to work the soil of our heart. In James chapter 1, verse 22 to 24, listen to what James says when it comes to pushing through those hard times and working our heart out, working and exercising our faith before God. He says, don't just listen to God's word. You must do what it says. Otherwise, you're only fooling yourselves. For if you listen to the word and don't obey it, it's like glancing at your face in the mirror. You see yourself, walk away, and forget what you look like. And what's amazing is this. We talked about in the previous devotional that it's easy for our hearts to be deceived, to be hardened. But we also find here, if we don't follow through on what we commit to do, our hearts can be deceived. We see that James talks about that in James chapter 1, to follow through on what we commit to do. When it comes to our lives, it really takes a humility to say, God, help me to push through. Help me to not break my promise. Because sometimes we find ourselves in society that talk is cheap. And so we get discouraged, and when pressures and challenges come, we want to throw in the towel and give up. Here's a thought for us as we close today. You'll overestimate what you can do in a day, but you'll underestimate what God can do through your life over a lifetime. And so imagine if you didn't give up, but you kept pushing through those hard times, what could God do in and through you, through your life? Don't give up. Hold to your commitments and follow through on what God has led you and called you to do. Thanks for watching.